What's up, manifestation queens? This is your manifesty bestie. And you know what? The universe loves when we help each other out. So you've got to help a gal out. If you like my vibe, then please subscribe, rate, and review. But I'm not going to ask you to do this for nothing. No, I'm not. When you subscribe, you are going to do it manifestation style. You're going to subscribe and say, I am subscribing to my best life. And when you hit the 5 stars, say to yourself, 5-star life for me, because no manifestation queen wants a 4-star life. So thank you, queens. What's up? This is All Up in Your Biz, and I am here with Suzie O'Neill. How are you?
I'm great.
You say the name. I keep mispronouncing the name. I think it's the California thing of A and A in Ireland.
I know. To be honest, it's AYU, but when I did name the brand years ago, I probably didn't think about the pronunciation very well.
But the spelling is exactly AU.
Yeah.
So it's perfect. So I don't know
people
why.
say AYU. It doesn't bother me at all, whatever way, you know.
Okay. And where did the name come from?
It's a Balinese word. It means beautiful in Balinese. So I spent time out there with my husband years and years ago, and I loved the place. So when I was naming the brand, like, it was only a little brush brand at the time. I didn't think anyone would ever know of it after, but I wanted something that meant something to me. And that really did. And because I still say to myself, I'm going to bring the kids out there someday and show them the place, because I just loved it, fell in love with it when I was there.
So you started with brushes. That's how it all started. So your background was in makeup and all of that, and you started with brushes. So when was that?
Oh my gosh. That was back in 2011 is when I first started to put the brushes together. I've been in the beauty industry over 20 years now, so I'm a long time in it. And I suppose back then there wasn't all the brands there is now. So I feel tools are really important. And I was teaching makeup and beauty at the time, so my students couldn't afford the high-end brushes, but I wanted them to have access to really good tools for doing the makeup. So I went just looking for ones that I could try and make myself, or trying to get factories that would be really good quality. And when I did, they started to ask me, could I get it for friends and family? And I felt it was kind of at a time in my life where I had just had Ollie, my son, and I was working 6 days a week. I wasn't super happy because I didn't have as much control in the college as I would have liked. And I thought to myself, there could be a little gap here, because I was 6 weeks after I had Ollie that I went back to work, and I was in 6 days a week. So I felt I was always missing him. 3 of those days are 12-hour days at the time as well. And I just felt, it was now or never. We just spoke about Sarah Blakely, but it was actually when, something I had listened to her say was that you felt like this wasn't my movie. There is something better for me here. This can't be my life. So I took the plunge and left and went into the brushes full time. With no money, I may add, but
So did you just start with a couple of brushes?
That I just didn't think of the consequences. But yeah, it was, we had 7 brushes at the time. And it was just a little brush set. And at the time, you see as well, Facebook and that was kind of taking off. So it was a lot easier to reach people. So I started to do little things on Facebook, not the videos just yet, but just show it on Facebook, and people started to buy through Facebook. And then I created a little website and started to sell through there, and just
slowly started to build it up. But at the time, I think I read in an article recently, at the time you had your son, your house builders was going bust or something like that, and you lost a substantial amount on what happened there. So
we were building our house, and we have a timber frame house, but we had to prepay a lot of the work. And towards the end, we heard rumours that there might have been trouble with the builders, but we approached them and they told us no, everything was fine, and they gave us papers that were actually false to tell us that everything was fine, and they took the last big check off us. And the next day we had a lot of people show up to say they had got letters that the business had gone under, and they never contacted us to tell us, but we lost everything then, and it was a tough time, but we were super lucky because our house was watertight, and we didn't have anything painted or finished or anything like that, but at least we had the house, the shell, and we could kind of work on it from there. So it's still in progress. I don't have it totally finished yet, but I'm much further along the way than I was years ago. But we've just spent years doing bits and pieces all the time. for a long time we couldn't do anything because we just didn't have the money to do it. But
And you're also at the time, like, you're a new mom, you've got a baby, this goes bust. It's not like people will be like, oh, she can sue the construction company. No, you can't. They've got no money.
Yeah.
They are bust. Like, that's so hard. But was there a point at that time you were like, oh God, do I need to have a set income coming in? Like, do I need to go back to work? Did you think about that?
I did think about it for a bit, but I suppose I was kind of working away in the brushes, and the cost of childcare, because I was just when this all happened, I was 4 weeks away from having my daughter Chloe, and I knew I was imminently having her, and so I couldn't get back into a job because I was just about to give birth, and then also it would have been 2 kids you were trying to get minding for. So it was a rock and a hard place at that time. So we just kind of settled in and got on with it, I suppose. Now, look, to be honest, I'm not someone who, I don't need super flash things. So I'm happy enough, content enough with, as long as I have enough, I'm okay. But it certainly was, like, it was hard at that time because you're seeing lots of other people get nice things and do nice things to their houses, and you're kind of getting hand-me-downs off everybody to try and fill space.
Yeah. Has it made you, because I've seen a phenomenal space on your Instagram stories of a new headquarters.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah. have you thought about it contractually differently, like in terms of how you pay them because of what had happened before? Or,
well, I'm really lucky this time that the guy who's building it is a friend of my husband's.
Okay.
So I know they're okay. But the
space is huge.
It's huge. Yeah, it's great. I'm so excited, and I know we'll talk about it later, but I have always, since things started to take off, in my head I have visualized the unit and the way the offices would be, the sign outside. I have dreamt it so many times and thought about it on runs and stuff, and there were a few years there where it definitely felt like it wasn't going to happen, and now I'm so excited. Like, we're moving in the next kind of 3 weeks or so, and I can't wait because it
looks phenomenal. It's a huge space. How big is your team?
We've 36 altogether.
Oh, wow.
Now, yeah. So in the office and warehouse, though, it's smaller because we've 2 shops that we've girls in. So we're about 15, I guess, in the office and between the office and warehouse. 15,
That's
15.
big.
Yeah, so there's plenty of us,
That is big. So what was the point at which you started to go into like makeup and cosmetics and tan and all of that?
So I had the brushes for a few years, and during that time, actually, I started to get advice from outside. People were saying I needed a PR company and things like that, and they were telling me, because trends were a certain way, they were saying you need to do this, you need to do that, and it wasn't really me. So I actually took a break from doing any sort of makeup and stuff for about 6 months, and I was doing fitness instead. That's my second big passion. So I did a personal trainer's course and a nutrition course, and I started to do kind of some training and things like that. But then I love makeup and I love skincare. It's been in me for so long that I wanted to get back into it. So I thought to myself, you know what? There has to be, if I like natural and I like easy and simple, there has to be others that want it as well. And I also was at a time where I suppose I was run a bit ragged, and I wasn't really looking after myself the way I used to. So my confidence had knocked, and I just wanted to get that part of me back. So I started to go online and do just really easy tutorials with makeup for women who just wanted easy, simple things. And then from that, they started asking me for lessons. So I started to do private lessons, and then people were asking for lessons from all over the country. And I thought, well, how can I do that and make it work? So I started to do classes. And then, this is a long-winded way of telling you how I got into makeup, but I started doing all the classes, and I was hearing the same thing all the time of what women wanted. Because at that time, there was all those big eyeshadow palettes with 28 colours, and they were super colourful. But all the women were saying to me, I just want one palette that's really easy to use and really simple and will suit every day. And that's where our signature palette came from. And it's still my favourite palette to this day, but I just wanted to simplify it for them. So the signature palette was the first one that I did. I just said I'd give it a try. Again, thinking to myself that I'll bring it to the classes and I'll use it. And
where
the
did
women,
you go to get that palette? Like, did you just start researching online?
Just Google, yeah.
And it's amazing how much Google can do, isn't it?
I know, it really is. And met a few different factories, and the factory that I work with for the signature palette is still a factory I work with now as well. Like, we've many more since, but it was just creating relationships. And I mean, you know, I was so naive at the time doing it.
So you were working with the same manufacturer?
Yeah, one of them is still the same now. And I promised myself when I made the signature palette, I was like, that's the only one I'm going to do in that year, because again, I didn't have a lot of money. I just put whatever money I had earned from the classes into getting that. But no sooner was it in that our Radiant Skin Cream, I really wanted to do that too. So I was like, then I said to Alan, I just need to do one more this year. And from there, then it just spiraled. But our third product was our Instant Under Eye Concealer. And that was the one that really kind of, I suppose, you know, we arrived once we had that, because it's still our bestseller of all our products, because it was the one thing that every woman said to me. It was like, I just want a concealer that doesn't crease, that'll make me look less tired and easy to use. And they just couldn't. And I had tried every concealer under the sun, so I was constantly mixing formulas and doing this, that and the other to try and come up with something that would work. And so my husband Alan works on a farm. He used to work on a farm, and he would have kind of more weathered skin, I guess, than I did. So I one day said to him, can I try this on you? And I put it on him. It was the time of the big snow. And then his brother rang to say that he needed to go to the farm to help because the pipes had frozen. So he didn't even think, and he jumped up from the table and he went, but he had the concealer on him. Off he went. And he came back a couple of hours later, and it was still perfect. It hadn't creased, hadn't budged. And I knew then, I was like, okay, I've got
this is it. Like,
is
this
the
can
product.
weather the Irish weather.
Yeah.
And it's funny, because when I have said your name to a couple of my family members and friends, and I've said, oh, I'm going to get Suzie O'Neill on, they're like, oh my God, the concealer is the best.
Yeah.
That's the same comment that's come up a few times. So what year was this, roughly?
It must have been 2018, I think, for the concealer, because I think the snow was that, or maybe it was 2019. I always get mixed up in those 2 years.
And was it that around that time, like 2018? Is it? How do you get your product out there? How did it just like poof? Was it influencers or was it word of mouth? What was it?
Well, it was really like that. It was easier to be noticed online back then because not so many people were doing it. So a few of the videos I had done back then had gone kind of viral, so over 1 million views, and just, you know, it created a lot of kind of exposure for us at that stage. And I guess one of the things at that time as well was that I always showed my face without makeup on. So it's pretty common now, but it really wasn't back then. And I have rosacea, so my skin is always red. My eyes are always red. That's hereditary. And it doesn't matter how much sleep I have or how healthy I am, I have all that redness. So I think women could relate to seeing someone who looked like them. And I've always been kind of like, I don't like to see perfection online because it just makes people feel bad. Like, at least show them where you started, and then show these little few things can make us feel amazing, and, you know, get rid of the redness or whatever. So initially it was those videos that helped us get out there. And then I suppose people who were kind of getting bigger online started to use them themselves and started to use them organically. We actually only last year did our first paid marketing, I guess you could say, and we were organic up until then, because it was just, I just really love authentic kind of, you know, reviews and authentic, just anything authentic.
Yeah.
online.
And do you think when you do paid marketing like that to, say, influencer or whatever, does it work? Is it good for the brand?
Only if they are connected to the brand already. I mean, we wouldn't work with anyone who wasn't already using the product, because I just don't feel that it's genuine then. Whereas if they've, you know, already spoken about us online, or they like the product, or, you know, I've gotten to know them in a way, that's when we'll talk about maybe, you know, doing a mutual partnership, because we don't expect them to do stuff for nothing, just for us, you know.
Yeah.
But we feel there's a connection there then, rather than just somebody who's never spoken about us before and then suddenly loves us overnight.
Yeah, and I find that too. I just think I can really understand that, even with my own products. It's like, I just want someone that genuinely loves it, because you're so passionate about your own brand and product. You just don't want anyone to be like, oh yeah, I love this, when they've never seen it or used it before.
Because I would sometimes think to myself, like, but if you loved it that much, why didn't we see it before there was a hashtag ad involved?
Yeah.
You know, that's where it gets a little bit for me. But again, I think there's so many people out there that would love your product and be so genuinely happy to talk about it as well. And then once you create that relationship, then it's nice to work together, because you do create a nice relationship together.
Yeah. What's the kind of main marketing that you're doing now to get the brand out there?
So I suppose paid media is the big one, paid social media. So ads and Google, we would use that quite a lot. And really just, it's kind of word of mouth. To be honest, we've gone into a different realm this year now because we have opened 2 shops in the last year. I've been in Kildare Village on and off for a few years, but we went permanent last year. And so it was always just our own kind of retail avenues and stuff like that. But now that we're going into a little bit of retail, because I don't want to open any more of my own shops, the strategy has to change a little. You have to try and think broader for advertising, because again, you're so used to your own people knowing about you, but not everybody, can see it, or unless they're seeing your online or see your shop, they need to know about it to go into a pharmacy or go into anywhere and buy it. So we're just doing a lot more, I suppose, in the way of campaigns and things now.
Yeah, and you're in Brown Thomas now, aren't you?
Yeah.
And what was the process to get into like one of the biggest, most luxurious retailers, the most luxurious retailer in Ireland? What was the process like for that?
So I have been talking on and off to Brown Thomas for years. I say talking on and off. Initially, I was talking at them, trying to get them to listen to me. So it took a while. And then last year, they contacted me, to have a chat about going in and that. And I suppose, again, I've had a vision of the way I want to see things, the way I want to see the brand. And it wasn't fully where it was in my head. So the conversation kind of paused for a little bit. But then we revisited it again, and we have gone in to Cork and Planet Beauty just recently. But it was a case of, I suppose, initially I was trying to pitch myself, because I see AYU as affordable luxury. Like, I've always really liked the nice packaging and the nice feel and the high quality. But again, it's coming from my teaching days. Not everybody can afford that high end, and I don't think people should not be able to have those nice things just because they don't have all the money behind it. So I wanted to place it where it looked really well, and they took notice of us to an extent, but obviously we were too small then and we hadn't really proven ourselves. So it was a case for us to go off and prove that we could do it. And then I suppose, we just keep annoying people until they take notice.
It's persistence, isn't it?
It's persistence, yeah.
But it's stressful too. I think like having your products in retail is stressful, because not only do you want to do well for the brand, but you need to do well for the retailer in order to be brought back. And it is stress on your shoulders.
Yeah, it's a whole other level. Because again, we've had so many years where we only answer to ourselves. And it's one of the few reasons why we didn't do retail before, is because I'm not great at having to be told what to do. So I'll be just honest about it. I don't like, having to fit into something. I kind of want to do what I want to do, and that's it. But then, you feel it is necessary because we want more people to see us, we want more people to be able to access us. But you do have a very real pressure of, I want to make sure we impress them. I want to make sure we do as well for them as they want us to do, and do ourselves proud as well. So it is a little bit, it's different than, again, if you put something out on your own website and it failed, you're kind of like, okay, we learn from that and we move on. But if you're in a retailer and it fails, you might not get a second chance to get back in again, so that is a different level of stress. And it's something we're still learning, because it is still pretty new to us.
But you know what? You only learn from failures as well, and learn from trying, and you've just got to just give it your best shot, right? That's part of manifestation as well. It's like seizing the opportunity, giving it your best shot, and then being like, well, we have to just do our best and see where it goes.
Yeah, I always say in the office, like, I frighten the girls at times when we're in meetings with retailers and stuff, because I'll just say yes to everything. I'm like, yeah, we can do that, no problem, we'll do it. No, yeah. And then we get off the call and they're like, how are we going to do that? And we're like, I don't know, but we'll figure it out.
That is the absolute key to manifestation. I was telling you earlier that I want to start an event for International Women's Day next year. I literally told my husband on Thursday, he just had come back from Germany, and I was like, I have this great idea. I don't know if you're one of these people that's like, I have this great idea, but that's me. And he was listening to me, listening, and then he said, how are you going to do it? And I said, I have no idea. And he was like, you know what? You always say that. you always say you have this idea. You always say you have no idea. But for some reason, you make it happen because you just start taking the actions. And I actually think I go so far along that I tell people that I have accountability that I can't back out of it. I don't have time to talk myself out of it.
Yeah, and that's the best thing, because when you do have too much time, then that's not a good thing.
You're talking yourself out of it. You're like, oh, should I do this? Shouldn't I? I'm just going for it now. So let's see if it happens. If you want to manifest your dream life, then what are you waiting for? Pause Penny has created an amazing manifestation box to help you manifest your dreams. It is backed by neuroscience. 7 simple steps, and the box tells you how to do it all. Grab your manifestation box at pausepenny.com and use the code podcast20 for 20% off. The space and manifestation and visualization. Have you always been, what does manifestation mean to you?
I suppose for me, it's like that. As I said, it's daydreaming. So I run a lot, and anytime I get, basically I'm daydreaming. Anytime that's quiet, I'm daydreaming about something, and that's where it starts for me. So again, way back when say the brushes and that and things online started to get a little bit of traction, I'd be out running and I'd be thinking, of a product, or something we could do for a launch, or just visualizing even 6 months down the road to where I'll be then and what I'll be doing. And I think I actually thought about it so much that I convinced myself that it was reality. And then, like, obviously it's a lot of hard work too, because you can't just say, oh yeah, I'm going to have that, and then it just appears. But I think because you convince yourself that that's the way things will be, then you're just driven towards that goal then, if that makes sense.
It's all neuroscience. So effectively the way it works is you start to visualize, your brain tags it as important to you. So then you're starting to seize the opportunities that are coming your way because your brain has focused on it, right? So now you're focused on these things, you can see it, but then all of a sudden these little opportunities that you might have missed before, like you're having a conversation with someone and you're like, oh, actually you could introduce me to X because I'm thinking about doing Y.
Yeah.
So there's so much neuroscience behind visualization, and a lot, and you're saying you're big into running, a lot of athletes use visualization for visualizing. Michael Phelps used it when he was swimming. Novak Djokovic talks about visualization. I visualize all the time. So I always visualize before I go to sleep. So I'll always visualize what I want, what I can see. But now I'm in such a habit of visualizing that if I'm getting my nails done, I'll be visualizing. If I'm walking to the studio, I'm visualizing, because you have to create a habit, and it has to be part of, I say manifestation is a lifestyle. It is your vibe, the way you show up kind of on a daily basis.
Yeah, I totally agree. Even I remember when I did the Donady 50K the year before last.
Say that again.
It's an ultra marathon, yeah.
Oh my God.
But I remember when I was training for that, when I used to do this ultra marathon is 10 laps of a forest. So what always frightened me about it was the repetition. So I used to do a few hours on the treadmill running just so that I get used to being bored. But what I used to do is I'd be thinking in my head the whole time, I'd be visualizing the last kilometre. And how I was going to feel coming into that last kilometre, seeing my kids and my husband there, and all that kind of thing, and the time that I was going to do it in. And I think again, like that, I just did it so much that it transpired exactly as was in my head. It's so weird the way it happens, but I think it's like anything as well. If you're panicked or if you're thinking something's going wrong, you'll end up, things will get in your way because that's all you're
focused on.
Yeah.
And I actually agree. Anything I've visualized has come once I've visualized consistently and I've believed that it can happen for me, because I think the belief is the key part. You have to believe that you can do it and then start taking action. So just like you were talking about earlier, your new space, and the fact that, did I hear on your stories that you were you got one space that wasn't right or something, but wasn't the vision in your head? Did you start visualizing a new space and what it would look like, and how did that all start?
So the space that we're in at the moment it's nice and all that, but it was never my dream.
Yeah.
What happened was that we were growing quite quickly, and we needed a bigger space, and I had just taken on it was the second employee of the business, and she said, look, we need this space and we need it quickly. And it was just a case of, we need a space, so just take it, that kind of way. But to be honest, I've never loved it. It's grand and it's great, but and the girls can attest to this, I don't work in the office every day because it's not where I'm happiest. Like I'll often work from home, or I'll be in and out. I'll be in there at some stage every day, but I wouldn't be there for the whole day. Whereas I feel if you have a space that you really like, you'll spend all day there. Like my office before we moved to this one, I'd be in there all day, and I'd probably be in there late because I just loved the space. And that's what I see for the new place as well. Like I can't wait to get in, because I can't wait to just be in there and settled and work away. But I think, because it wasn't something I had imagined, I probably just never fully settled in there.
Yeah, and you visualized this space for
anything else.
Yeah, did you visualize a lot? Like, how do you visualize other than running? Do you visualize at night, or do you just
in the car? Yeah, if I'm listening to music, or if I'm lying in bed, I'm pretty much dreaming about something. Genuinely, I could be sitting there, and if I look like I'm staring, I'm probably thinking in my head about something. I just
And do you incorporate like positive mindset and all of that with your team at work? Like, is it?
I think we're all pretty similar in the way we think. All right, like I'm a big fan of podcasts and books, and I believe that you have to ingrain yourself in it. Like years ago, I suppose I might have been, before I started doing work on myself, let's say, I might have had a bit of envy, and might have gotten a bit cynical, and not super nice, because you'd be jealous of other things, and that's not a nice space to be in. But when you start, as you probably know yourself, like listening to really positive people like the likes of Sarah Blakely, and you start listening to podcasts and things like that, you kind of realize, well, I can do that too, and why not me? So that's where the belief as well comes from. And I think then that rubs off on the people who are around you. Like, the way they say you're the product of the 5 people you're with all the time. And I definitely believe that to be the case in the office, because we all are very much on the same wavelength. Everyone's super positive, and we're all driven as well by the same goal of wanting women to feel great. Every one of us has felt alienated from things we've seen online in the past. So we're super driven to make sure that women can feel like they can relate to every one of us. It's why most of the girls in the office would be in the videos as well, because it's gorgeous to have beautiful images, and I think that's necessary too. But I think it's nice to see makeup been done on real skin and real wrinkles, and things that you can actually relate to.
Yeah, and I do, like, even I find it hard. Like, I turned 40 this year. I have 4 kids, 5 and under. Even I was with Maura Rath there recently. She does the yoga with Maura, and she was like, stop putting the filters on your Instagram. And I find it hard. I just find it, I just find it when I'm tired. It's been a long day. I've got the kids now. They all sleep, but it's long. There's stress. I'm doing a lot, like we said. And I still find it hard to like fully, like, I'll get a little bit of Botox and I'll see that, and I'll be like, oh my God, my Botox doesn't last. And I just don't feel, it's hard. I think we live in a society where like your looks are so, and even it's not for other people, it's more for myself.
Yeah. And I always find that's sad as well, because I think, you're being so hard on yourself, and yet, people wouldn't think that when they look at you, they'd actually you'd be a breath of fresh air coming on without any sort of Paris filter. Like, I don't use those anymore either myself, because I felt, who cares? I don't care. I don't have the patience to be putting on a filter, or trying to make myself look better. They need to see that you're, raggled at the end of the day, like everybody else is.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just not reality. And I just think it's so dangerous for people to think. Like, I do worry for the younger generations, because I just think, God, like, they're growing up in a time of such false advertising, and it's one of the reasons I took my extensions out as well. Like, I felt to myself, do you know what, you don't need them. Like, you have to be okay being yourself as well. Like, I'm all for tweaks and treatments and all that stuff, but I found I was getting too reliant on them. Like, I couldn't be without them, and I loved them and all that, but I remember Breed, who does my hair, said to me, she was like, it's kind of dangerous, because you're not going to feel good at all without them, and at some stage you are going to have to get them taken out. So I was like, do you know what, I just have to get them out.
And it's actually
going.
true,
And
because I do not feel good without the filter on Instagram. I feel like, oh my God, look at the bags under my eyes. Oh my God, you're
and yet I'm
totally
looking at you and you've got such good skin, and I'm like, if I had skin like that, I would be happy as Larry.
See, the funny thing is that I've always, like, my friends even during college were like, oh my God, Yvonne's one of those people that can wake up in the morning and not put makeup on, right? Which was always the case. Always have had good skin, but it's very dry, so I wrinkle easily. So like I get wrinkles, I get bags under my, it's genetic, right? So that's where my struggle is. But anyway, we're all different, right? And maybe this is my sign from the universe to take the stupid filters off. But going back to, I recently, like, I'm a huge person that's like, there's space for everyone. Stop comparing yourself. But I do find a lot of people message me and are like, I'm starting this business, but I'm comparing myself. I find it hard. You're seeing, like, you're in this beauty industry where Ireland just seems to have these phenomenal beauty entrepreneurs, right? And how do you kind of like, because there has to be times where you're like, oh geez, they've just sold this in this store, or this person's now got this influencer that put up a huge post. And do you just try and drown out the noise, or do sometimes you're like, how do you just think I can get there too?
I would be totally lying if I said it doesn't affect us at all. There are certain times where you see certain people who will replicate what you've done word for word, and you're thinking, seriously, because I am very much of the thinking there's room for everybody. Yeah. So I think stay in our own lanes and do our own thing. And I, have so much respect for everybody. We do have to tell ourselves sometimes in the office, just put our blinkers back on, because it doesn't matter if somebody else is doing X, Y, or Z. We know what we are doing. We know what we're really good at. And the one thing I try and remind myself of as well is, even if they're trying to copy what you're doing or say what you've said, they're still not AU. Yeah. AU is still always different, and you've put down the foundations. Your customers know who you are as a brand and what you're trying to achieve. I would hope by now they all know as well how genuine we are, that I'm here for the long game. I'm not here just to make a few bob really quickly and then disappear. That's not what we're about. So we do try and just keep focused on what we're doing ourselves. But I mean, I would be a total liar if I sat here and said, no, it doesn't bother me at all.
Of course it does. I actually have to unfollow somebody who's pretty big in Ireland, and they've got a brand, not the same, but similar space, because I found myself starting to be like, oh my God, look at that. That's amazing. Like, God, geez, I'm only here. And I was like, hold on a second, Yvonne. You've got a job. Like, you have to just... So I do find that if you can acknowledge that, like, okay, yeah, this is having a little impact on me, just unfollow. That's what I do.
Yeah, I'm the same.
And I think that's okay.
Yeah.
We're normal. We're human. Like,
because with online as well, like, I'm totally ruthless when it comes to online. I'll just unfollow immediately if it's starting to
I've seen your follower count. I was like, she only has about 200. That's amazing.
I know, and most of those are people I know for years and years. But like that, I just think to myself, it's up to me what I see. So, if I just unfollow, then they won't come up.
I love that. It's up to me what I see. I love that. I'm going to use that phrase. And that's what I always say this one. When I let go, my life will flow. Yeah. Like, your life will flow when you kind of let things go and know. And you're a manifester. Huge things can happen. Mm-hmm. It's all up to you. You know what I mean? You and your team and what you're building. But and just to put that point on, that is exactly true, because there were so many times in the past that I had opportunities to do things, and I didn't do them because I didn't want to push myself to risk failing quite big and publicly. So I held back, and I do think that I held the brand back for possibly 2 to 3 years, that it could have grown a lot quicker and a lot faster. In hindsight, it's a good thing that I didn't, because then when I did finally push myself to take bigger risks or to do more things, do more cosmetics, I feel I was ready for it then. Because equally not being ready for failure, I wasn't ready for success either, and that's why I wanted to keep myself just small enough that nobody would notice me. And so at some point like that, probably all the books and stuff I listened to pushed me to say, do you know what? No, I can do it, and it can be me, because why can't I be the person who has created something that's amazing? I'd say some people I know probably still think I keep myself small enough, because I don't
do a lot of things out in public. Like, I'm not someone who goes to all the awards, or, you know, I very rarely show up at anything because I'm an introvert by nature. But I'm happy online, and I'm happy in person with our clients and our customers, because I feel they're my people, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. Yeah, I never knew you were an introvert, because
Oh,
I watch you
totally.
on your stories and I love,
Yeah,
like, you
no.
really show up. Do you think it's really important to have the founder kind of like speaking and talking about the brand? And
I think sometimes, but I think I don't think it should rely on one person. Like, what I always say to the girls is that AU is so much more than me. Like, at the beginning, yeah, it might have been me on a video showing how to do my own makeup and showing my imperfections. But I love showing all my girls, and I love showing our customers, because it's for everybody. So I don't think it should ever be one person. Like, you know, for someone to say, oh, you're great, you've done this. Well, I haven't. Every one of us has. You know, I'm very mindful of that, and that's why I've probably removed myself a little bit now compared to before, you know, in front of the camera on our AU page, because I want people to, I like that. I want the brand to last,
yeah.
you know, and I want it to be here forever. So they have to, you know, love the brand itself, not just the person who's running it.
Yeah. Have you ever thought of like a kind of a smaller, because you have a girl, younger age makeup for the younger, because are you kind of, my little girls ask me all the time, she's only 3, oh, can I have some of that lipstick? And I'm like, oh, should she be wearing this? Or
Yeah, I think I probably wouldn't, because my daughter is she's real sporty and everything. She's not into makeup or anything yet. She's 11, and I don't want her to grow up too fast.
Yeah.
Like, I'll certainly help her when she's doing her makeup, and I always say to women who have teenagers, help them with the foundation. You know, don't let them buy the real cheap stuff, because their skin is reacting anyway. So they need something good on the skin, not something that's going to clog the pores and stuff. But I don't think I'd bring out a range. I'm kind of I'm in two minds as well about all these skincare brands that are coming out for the younger age groups as well, because I think sometimes girls can, or not just girls, anyone can over process the skin. So again, I'm all about like consistency, but keep it simple, you know, rather than too much when their skin is still developing.
Yeah, and did you, in terms of your own brand and expansion, did you ever get investment, or did you just go solo yourself?
No, we're still self-funded. Yeah, wow. Yeah.
That's phenomenal.
Lucky. Yeah, no, it's lucky. And I'm not saying that I wouldn't ever. Well, I suppose the only reason, again, is I don't have to answer to anybody. So,
yeah.
Isn't it terrible? I just couldn't.
That's actually good. I even say that to my husband. My husband's like, oh my God, Yvonne, you hate, because he's effectively the CFO, but like the CFO in a business of one person. Look, I'm the CEO. You know, you can call me whatever I want, but I hate being told what to do.
Yeah.
Especially when it's I don't mind at work in my corporate job, like, oh, we need to do this, this, and this. But like in a business, when you get investment, what people might not know is that the investors could get a seat on your board.
Mm-hmm.
They could have insight into the strategy. They could tell you what direction to go in. They could tell you where to put the marketing. But on the flip side of that, if you need to expand quickly and go global, and you need the funding, there's a balance there. But it's very interesting to have, you know, like the space that you have, the number of employees, and to have it all self-funded.
Yeah. No, and like that, again, I wouldn't say no if you were thinking, right, once you're going international, it's a whole different ball game. But I think I'd probably be a little ways, you know, away from looking for that. And then I'd possibly, I'd have to make sure that it was that you would still have very much control of the inside of it.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
But it's never say never, I guess.
Would you like to expand, like, globally?
Yeah, I think we have the capabilities to do it, for sure. You know, we have a lot of only about 60% of our retail is in Ireland, and then the rest is outside, and it's between America and the UK. And we did have a good space in Australia for a while as well. We had a fulfillment company out there, and this is the beauty of online, I guess, is that you're open to the whole world, because Ireland is quite small, so as well. So it's nice to be able to look further afield. And again, I do think that, again, coming back to Sarah Blakely, but I think it was nearly 5 years they only had the one product with Spanx, and I always say to the girls, it's our under eye concealer. It's the one that will bring us broad, you know.
Yeah, because a lot of people will say, like, oh, you've got one product, you need to get another product, you need to get another. Even I'm thinking that for my brand. I'm like, oh, I've my manifestation box, I have my gratitude boxes. Now I have my little bracelets and stuff. Like, oh, what's my next product? But sometimes you're just like, just slow down.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Yeah.
you know, you will get there, but slow down. But you did start thinking about, you're very into health and fitness, and you had a fitness brand, clothing. And I was telling you earlier that I had these Pause Penny manifestation sweaters, which were limited edition, and they did sell out. Now, small quantities, but they were also white, and everybody was like, I can't buy a white sweater. It's going to get destroyed. But I really struggled with, first of all, they're bigger, so the volume of packaging and posting. I wanted them to be organic cotton, so like they're way more expensive to make. And thirdly, I got absolutely crucified on the sizing. Like I said something like an X size, between X and X is an extra large, and someone was like, you cannot say that, that's the standard size of a woman in Ireland today, and that's totally, you know. So I was like, oh my God, like I just found clothing really really tough.
Yeah.
So what was the brand, and what are you doing with it now, and why is you're into fitness, but tell us a little about that.
So the brand is called Cool Fit, and we started it about 2 years ago now. Nearly 2 years ago. So it started with, it was just leggings, so 7/8 length and full length. And because again, I run so much, I had a lot of different issues with certain pants that I was wearing, and I wanted to just have ones that would be super comfy. I suppose I was wearing that a lot of the time, so I truly believe that if I wasn't in cosmetics, I'd be in fitness. I'd be have a gym or something like that, because it's so much part of me. But we wanted to do it as well because, again, the girls in the office kind of got involved as well and said, it'd be great, because they didn't feel there was leggings for girls their size, or the nice colours. And so we just went about it and we did it, and it was really well received. And what kills me is that it's a really viable business, and it really is, because it's, even when I haven't been promoting, it's consistently selling. And they're really gorgeous. Like, the leggings are fab, they're so comfortable, and they do exactly what I say they'll do. But I just don't have the time to keep it going myself now. So I'm just that type of person that if I'm doing something, I'm doing it 100%. And I just don't, I think to myself, like, cosmetics is where I am fully right now, and that's, it needs all my attention. So I did take the difficult decision to kind of say, to let people know that I will be kind of winding it down. And I don't know if it'll be forever. Perhaps it'll be coming back, because I've had times where I've sat with Alan and I'm daydreaming about opening a spinning studio, and Cool Fit's been incorporated into that. Or I had this thing a while ago where I wanted to do, like, it was ride and recover, that you go in and you do your spinning and then you do an ice bath after. Like, I definitely have a big...
Yeah, we have an ice bath in our garden, actually. I bought one for my husband. My God, disaster. It was like I was heavily pregnant with the twins, bought my husband that for Christmas. He was out for drinks. They arrived with the ice bath, and I was like waddling along. So it's really good ice bath. So we have a gym, and we actually, the number one thing that myself and my husband wanted when we were renovating our house was a gym in our garden, because just a bit more, we're both very, very into health and fitness, and it was just going to be too challenging to get out with the kids and different, and it has been the best thing that I've done. We've got box jumps, we've got slam ropes, we've got slam balls, everything. Will you have a gym in your office?
I've thought about it all right. I have a gym at home as well, and like you, I like the fact that I don't have to go anywhere to get it. I can just fly across and it's done. We've thought about having something in there. We're actually, where we are, we're really lucky that we have great areas to walk and run outside. There's paths everywhere, which we don't have in our current place. So it's definitely something we've thought about, but it's I always think as well, everyone's so much more productive. Like, the girls last year were doing the couch to 5K in the office. So again, I like to facilitate things like that. So I would say, go and do your run before you come into work. Like, come in half an hour later, whatever it takes. Because I know when they come in, then their mind is clear and they're ready to go. And it's, I always feel as well, it's a great way to start the day. So
it's such a good way to start the day. So I found that, like, I've because I'm on social media so much now with the business in the morning, it's kind of the first thing I get up. I've got a marketing girl, she's in Australia, so like I'm trying to get in contact with her, but I've noticed that my motivation has dipped. And I was talking to on my podcast Nicole Neuroscience, and she said, sweat before you scroll, because your dopamine is going down with that instant gratification of like putting up your stories. I put up my like affirmations in the morning, and I said to my husband, like, what is it? I'm just so like not as motivated as I used to be. And it's definitely 100% related to getting up in the morning and starting that little bit of work first. So I'm cutting that out and just going straight into the gym. I've joined the Maeve Madden app, and that was just because I need something to just keep me a little bit more consistent. And I also go boxing. I love boxing, but brilliant. I think it's really good as like the leader in an organization to be saying to people like, exercise is so important. Even if you're late to work, you're actually going to be far more productive.
Yeah. Oh, I think everyone needs it. It's a necessity for me anyway. I would be a crazy person if I didn't do it.
It's so good for the mind.
Yeah. It just allows you to think and to like. I always, if something's bothering me in work, once I go for a run, I can see the resolution once I've gone for a run. Like I can see how I'm going to solve this or how I'm going to fix it most of the time. And if I don't know how to fix it, I'll certainly feel better about it anyway. So I think it's really important for everybody to get some form of exercise if they can in. And always people say to me, oh, I don't have time. And I'm like, but everyone's busy.
Show me your screen time. That's what I would say.
Yeah, exactly that. In fairness,
show me your screen time. Because I get up in the morning now at 5:30 and I have to make sure that by 7 I'm exercised and I'm done and I'm showered, and then the 4 kids get up at 7:30. So I do think that we can make time. But one thing that I won't do for the business is absolutely not, even I don't care, is sacrifice my sleep. I'm in bed by 9:30, 10, and I'm just absolutely not going to sacrifice my sleep because I won't get up and exercise. I'm crankier, worse food decisions. I feel like I'm a better manifester when I've slept because my mind is more positive.
Yeah.
Do you sleep?
I do sleep. I love my sleep. I'm an early riser as well, but I'm early to bed too. And I totally agree with that. I think that you can't function properly unless you sleep well.
I agree.
It's definitely one thing that I always do, and I'm lucky that I do sleep really well. I don't ever really lie awake. The odd time you might, but no, it's definitely it's really, really important because I don't think anyone functions well without sleep. And the other thing is that some people are like, oh, I'm not going to bed at 9:30. That's so boring. And it's like, well, that's fine if that's your whatever you're into. Like I'm very much again, whatever floats your boat, because what someone might find fun, I wouldn't. And so again, I know that there's.
But that means you can get up and go for your run because you slept well.
Yeah.
And your morning is my morning is the best part of my day. Yeah. It's my exercise part. It's the part where I do my gratitude, my affirmations, I do my exercise. It's like the best part of my day. So I'm tired by 9:30.
Oh, same. Yeah, I'm so tired. I don't want to talk to anyone or see anyone at that stage. I just want to be left alone. And I'm just chilling on the couch. But I know even some of my family think I'm nuts for the way I live my life. But I like it. And it suits me, so it keeps me happy. And at the end of the day, like, you only have your own life to live. So why would you mind so much what other people are doing?
And I do think that's a big thing. I think a lot of us, we compare ourselves or we think about what other people think. And it's like, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
They are totally, we have to remember that anybody else is totally irrelevant to our journey.
Yeah.
Like we just have to focus on what we want, how we want to show up kind of in the world. So what are you manifesting?
At the moment?
Yeah.
Do you know what? I'm really just thinking about our warehouse and our space. Like I said to you earlier, I find when I'm really, really busy, I find it difficult to kind of focus and see where I'm going next. But I do have visions in my head for AYU Glows, our tanning range, and we did a relaunch of it a few months ago. So we're still very much in that phase, and it is going really, really well. And I just think it's the most beautiful tan. And we had a shoot yesterday in Barcelona, and I obviously wasn't at it, but the pictures came back in. I saw some of them last night. I'm like, oh my God, it's going to be stunning. So in my head, I'm visualizing where that is going, and it's going big places in my head.
Yeah,
at the moment.
And people always make fun of me on my Instagram because I actually put on a tiny bit of tan today, but I'm so bad with tan, so I'm going to get that.
The gradual you'll love then if you don't like too much tan.
Yeah, no, I don't like too much, but I've always been very sporty. So like all throughout college, I did kickboxing. I competed in kickboxing and everything. So it was always my friends that did my tan for me. So I need like a makeup lesson and a tan lesson. But I'm going to go to the rack.
You can do that.
Done. Yeah. So thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah,
it's
no,
lovely.
big things. And I've got like I'm already manifesting in my mind this big event, and I can see you at it, and I'm like, this is going to be a good collab, and I can't wait. I can't wait to see your new space.
Yeah, very exciting times the next few weeks now. It'd be great.
Yeah, it's July, isn't it?
Yeah, so we're supposed to be out of our own place by the 6th of August, which frightens me a little bit because the plaster is only going up on the walls at the minute in the new place. So I'm just hoping in the next 2 weeks a lot will turn around and we'll be
a
able to
lot
start
can happen
moving.
in 2 weeks.
Yeah,
You'll have to have you'll have to have like a manifestation wall or a gratitude wall or something
we do.
like that. Oh, you do?
Yeah. We have. Well, we're very much again into that in the office, and we always send out quote cards with all our orders. Zoe's desk is covered in things, and we have little quotes up all over the walls.
I love that.
Yeah, I always love those reminders, and it's again, I think you just need that sometimes when sometimes you're having a crappy day or whatever. Just you can read something and it's like, okay, I'm good again. I'm all right.
Yeah. Yeah, so, it's like a positive vibes headquarters.
Yeah, absolutely.
I love that. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.